Okay, so it's recording now. Uh, Hello, everyone. My name is Dora Lee,
Hi, my name is Kenny McDaniel.
and we're going to
And
discuss what we've learned so far.
yeah, we've met each other.
Hey. All right. So, you say you were asking me questions on, you were saying like, what is language? You wanted to start kind of with that one.
Yeah. Um, so since we can't really, there is no real fixed definition, it's just kind of continuously evolving. What I had as a definition of it for me was it's a continually evolving medium of communications that involves speech, symbols, or gestures that could elicit a response in another being. It kind of goes against what Chomsky says a
Yeah.
little
Well,
bit.
and I like the part that we're taught that language is kind of helps us the way we think and the way we see the world. Our language depends on that as well. I like that part when I read
Yeah.
that. That was new that I didn't know. Okay, well, speaking of Chomsky, he is considered the father of modern linguistics. So I think a lot of his
Yeah.
theories are really important. I like how it said that he argued persuasively against the view that we learn language as a result of stimuli, and that so his theory going more that it's something that's innate in us humans to be able to learn a language. I like that about
Yeah.
his theory. Uh,
Yeah, that language just like we have it in us, and it's more something. What is it that we learn how, like the Greeks call it grammar. It's the art of words.
yeah,
So
I like that. Yeah.
we
So I
we
like
have the words. We just got to figure out how to put them together.
how to put them together, which goes kind of to linguistic knowledge, right? To how to put the words together and how
Yeah,
the creativity of it. I like how it says, at least in English, how you can add like one thing, like he built the house, and then we can just keep expanding it. It's like infinite. It can expand and expand and
yeah.
expand, be super creative, which kind of goes to like the Victorian writers. If you ever read some of those books where they explain one thing and it takes them like three
It's like
paragraphs,
five lines all the way
five
down. You're like,
lines just to say I'm
are you
hungry.
done?
Yeah. So I like,
Yeah,
just say I'm hungry. Okay, you didn't have to say it that much. I like that because
yeah,
it kind of explains how our language is infinite, the creativity that we can put things together. Which also brings to mind like slips of the tongue, because we talk so fast, or not talk, we think so fast that sometimes we have these slips of the tongue because like, everything kind of gets garbled. And
yeah.
for example, as a matter of fact, today, for example, my coworker, we were talking about lunch, and she said she was talking to my coworker. Her name is Shayla, and she was gonna Zell her. So instead of saying, "Shayla, do you have Zell?" she said, "Zella, do you have Zayla?" or something like that. It was hilarious, and I laughed
Yeah.
about it. So that's why I was like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
brain's moving
about
faster than the tongue.
yes." I was like, "I'm
Yeah,
gonna talk about the slip of the tongue today because it happened today at work. I thought it was hilarious."
yeah,
But
that's perfect.
yeah, that was a fun
Yeah,
one. I was like, oh, I can apply it to my everyday life. That was good. And then one of the things I like about is universal grammar. How we all, I think, although we have it innately in us, the theory to learn language, I also think that there is a universal grammar that we all kind of agree on how, which is why we learn languages. Which is why it's
yeah,
easy for me sometimes to learn a language because I can see that universal grammar, the whole world kind of follows a certain rules about their grammar, which
yeah.
I think is cool how it kind of connects us all.
Well, there's something kind of that ties in sign language to that. Like everybody knows like some of the gestures of like pointing means look over there, or like you point to body parts, or like you do that to your ears, like
Yes.
listen up,
Mm-hmm.
or it's kind of like a universal language. Uh, but not that that's something that I was gonna talk about, but it's
Hey,
just
that's a
interesting
good
how
one.
that
We use our hands a
that's
lot.
interesting that
At least I do.
yeah, like I noticed that my grandfather, when he speaks only really Spanish and very broken English, but he gestures a lot broadly and then like starts pointing to things, and he does that. And I partially think because he's just trying to get his point across and he's short
Right.
tempered.
Yeah.
But the sign language is there where I can see it. Like I'm watching his hands going like, what are you doing? Are you trying to karate chop me, or are you just
Yeah.
telling me? Yeah.
Just try to talk.
Uh, yeah. He's like, I just wanted coffee. That's all he wanted, but it's this whole thing. Um, well, I think it was well, that kind of goes into like my perspective on it. So I know the Sapir Whorf. I'm probably butchering how that.
I can't
Uh,
say either.
I can't say it right, but it's like your perspective shapes your reality of how
Mhm.
you see the world and how you interact with it. It's and I've noticed it like when I code switch in my head between English and Spanish, like I adopt a little different personality. The inflection in my voice is kind of
Yes,
different, like
yes,
the tones and accent.
yes.
Uh,
Yeah, like
like
when I talk to my Puerto Rican family, all of a sudden I start moving my head a lot.
yeah,
You know,
you
I don't do
start
that
doing
I
this.
don't do that when I'm at work, but whenever the Puerto Rican side of my mom's side of the family, when they come around, we start moving our hand and moving our hands, doing this a lot. It's
Yeah, you
definitely, and it's like I can't speak their kind of Spanish unless I'm doing those kind of gestures.
but it's also like programmed into you. You're like, yeah, I do this when I talk about it, and then you just go like that. Oh, I'm doing that. I'm doing the thing
Yes.
again. Yeah, and that here was something I read on the hypothesis about like the masculinization of the language and the feminization of language, and how it'll like change how people describe. Like it was a bridge in Spanish, puente. It's masculinized, so they when you're describing bridges in Spanish, they tend to have more masculine traits to describe it versus like
Right?
German, it's I can't pronounce it, but the German form of it is feminized, and so when you describe it in German, it's they take on more feminine traits. It's just a little linguistic thing that's different.
Yeah. I think that's cool.
Um, yeah. Um, and moving on to chapter 8, some of the Romance languages. So, from my knowledge, it's Spanish, French, and Italian. I believe there's a couple other ones,
Romanian.
but I'm not. Which one?
Romanian.
Oh, Romanian, yeah. Yeah, and those are just they're straight dialects of the
Right.
Latin spoken language in the Roman Empire, and those you can they are genetically like related, so you can look at the way that some of the like Spanish, Italian, and French all have different words for like father and fish. And if you look at them, it's like padre en pescado or padre en pesque in
Yes.
yeah, or pear and poisson because French is extra and it has to be extra.
Always.
It's always extra, and so Spanish is one of those Romance languages because it's derived from the Latin language, or
Right.
but English is derived from that Proto-Germanic language.
Yes.
It's like
Mhm.
closer to German.
Yes.
But you can see that in like I just described those, where in English, where there's words that begin with F, their corresponding uh, words in the Romance languages start with P.
P. Yes.
So father fish or father pescado. You can
Yeah.
see that, and it's just a little thing that you can notice in it.
And
And I think that
I like to see the similarities in German and English. You know, there's some
yeah,
like sometimes there'll be someone with, like I'll hear German, I'm like, hey, I kind of understood what they said, you know?
yeah, I'm like you can understand Guten Morgen.
Yes,
It's good
absolutely.
morning.
Good
Yeah,
morning. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. And I love Romance languages, obviously, because hablamos español, you know,
yeah, of course. Safe.
and it's easy for us to correlate them. So I really do like to hear Italian speakers or Portuguese speakers. I only have one Romanian friend who's when she speaks, I'm like, oh, it is pretty close,
Yeah,
to
it's a
of course,
beautiful
when it
language,
comes
but
to it's beautiful, but I still haven't quite grasped it as much
yeah,
as the Portuguese and the Italian. But it's good stuff.
yeah. The only one I remember from Italian, I took I think like a few weeks of it was I know how to say cell phone. It's cellulare,
Yeah.
or dog is bow bow. It's
What?
because
Okay,
dogs
that
are
one I didn't know. I didn't know
it's
that.
bow
That's
bow,
great.
and I was like bow bow. I was like, okay, that's close.
That's cool.
There was an explanation for it, but it was like 10 years ago, so I can't remember it now.
No,
But
Italian, I mean, just when it comes to food. you know? I
Yeah,
pasta and that's it.
pasta or fettuccine.
Fettuccine, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think we're at time, so
Yay! Well,
we
it was
made it.
fun. Yes, it was fun. And we only
That
spoke
wasn't so
Spanish like a
difficult.
little bit though.
Muy poquito.
Muy poquito, aunque lo hablamos, pero muy poquito. You can tell our
Yeah,
first language is definitely English.
but yeah, I mean, and like growing up here, it's just it kind of just gets pushed to the front.
Absolutely.
But
Well, this was fun. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording so that we can submit it and it won't be too long. And
yeah.
give me a moment.